March of 1944, two white girls were found dead in a ditch in Alcaloo, South Carolina. Within hours, police arrested a 14-year-old black boy named George Stinney Jr., who said he'd seen them walking by earlier that day. There was no physical evidence, no witnesses, no written confession, just the word of police officers who said George admitted to the crime. His parents weren't allowed to see him. No lawyer visited before the trial. The trial lasted 2.5 hours. The all-white jury deliberated for 10 minutes. George Stinney was sentenced to death. On June 16, 1944, he was strapped into the electric chair at South Carolina's State Penitentiary. He was 5'1" and weighed barely 90 pounds. The chair's straps didn't fit him. The mask slid off his face as the current hit. He was the youngest person executed in the United States in the 20th century. In 2014, 70 years later, a judge vacated his conviction, calling the trial a great injustice. George Stinney was 14 years old.
In the quiet town of Alcaloo, South Carolina, in the spring of 1944, life moved at a slow pace. This was a time when segregation was deeply rooted in the fabric of American society. Black and white families lived in the same town, but they lived in very different worlds. For the black families, there was the constant shadow of racism, poverty, and fear. For the white families, there was privilege, control, and unquestioned authority. And it was in this world that a tragedy unfolded, one that would shock the nation and leave a permanent stain on the justice system of the United States. At the center of this tragedy was a boy named George Stinney Jr. He was just 14 years old. George was the son of a poor African-American family. He was small, barely 5 feet tall, weighing only 40 kilograms. He loved to play with his siblings and help his father on the farm. He was a child like any other, innocent, curious, and full of life. But in 1944, George would become the youngest person executed in the United States in the 20th century. His case remains one of the most haunting examples of racial injustice in American history. It began on March 23, 1944. Two white girls, 11-year-old Betty June Binnicker and 7-year-old Mary Emma Thames, were riding their bicycles in Alcaloo. They were looking for wildflowers and passed by the Stinney home. They asked George and his little sister, Catherine, if they knew where to find some. That was the last time the girls were seen alive. Hours later, panic spread through the town when the girls did not return home. A search party was organized, and later that evening, the bodies of the two girls were found in a ditch. They had been brutally attacked. Betty June suffered severe head injuries, and Mary Emma was also fatally struck. Their murders sent shockwaves through the small community. Almost immediately, suspicion fell on George Stinney. Why? Because he was the last person seen speaking to the girls. The fact that he was black and the girls were white sealed his fate in the eyes of the authorities. Within hours of discovering the bodies, George was arrested. George's arrest was swift, brutal, and without proper investigation. There was no physical evidence linking him to the crime. There were no witnesses who saw him commit it. Yet, the police claimed he confessed. According to them, George admitted to killing the girls after they tried to resist his advances. But George's family and supporters have always maintained that the confession was forced. He was interrogated alone, without a lawyer, without his parents, and without any protection. Imagine a 14-year-old boy.
In March of 1944, two white girls were found dead in a ditch in Alcaloo, South Carolina. Within hours, police arrested a 14-year-old black boy named George Stinney Jr., who said he'd seen them walking by earlier that day. There was no physical evidence, no witnesses, no written confession, just the word of police officers who said George admitted to the crime. His parents weren't allowed to see him. No lawyer visited before the trial. The trial lasted 2.5 hours. The all-white jury deliberated for 10 minutes. George Stinney was sentenced to death. On June 16, 1944, he was strapped into the electric chair at South Carolina's State Penitentiary. He was 5 feet 1 and weighed barely 90 pounds. The chair's straps didn't fit him. The mask slid off his face as the current hit. He was the youngest person executed in the United States in the 20th century. In 2014, 70 years later, a judge vacated his conviction, calling the trial a great injustice. George Stinney was 14 years old.
Yes. Can you imagine how many black people have been sent to death because they had incompetent attorneys and or didn't have an attorney at all?
Well, I mean, that has even happened here. Something like that has even happened here. Similar has even happened here in the state of Illinois, in our own backyard.
Wow.
Where the late Jim Edgar, the 38th governor of Illinois, and that case is even mentioned in the book written by George Ryan, Until I Could Be Sure. Mr. Grievous Davis, who was begging for clemency, and he, to my understanding, and from what I've been able, I have read, and I'm going to follow up, was exonerated posthumously. But the thing is, Jim Edgar could have granted the clemency, but he chose not to. He signed off on the death. He signed off on the death warrant. Now, fine, you can make a case that a lot of these people that are on death row may not have been complete and total angels.
Right.
Okay, okay, fine. I get it.
We don't have any complete and total angels.
Right.
There are no complete and total angels. It's just people that haven't been caught. See, that's the whole thing that it riles me up, because I know that there are other people that have committed far greater crimes than those that are being put to death. But they're getting off either because they have the money to pay their way out of it, and or they have the influence, one or the other. We've got to do something to help those that have been wrongfully convicted.
And in Chicago and in Illinois, we got a significant number of them.
Wow.
We paid significant amounts of our tax dollars, right, in retribution for these wrongful convictions. So it costs you in all kinds of ways, into the lives, hurting the lives of these individuals. Then when they get out, they deserve, right, to be compensated for that. But then that impacts our tax dollars. I mean, it's just all bad.
Yeah, it is.
And it's something that we've got to be concerned with. Let me just add, there's another issue that we are addressing, and that is the state's attorney has a program that allows the police not only to arrest, but to actually bring felony gun charges against individuals. So in other words, it bypasses felony review.
Oh, wow.
Typically, police arrest. The state's attorney, based on evidence, determines if you should literally be charged. Well, she allows police not only to arrest, but to also charge.
Wow.
Which to me violates our rights for due process. So that's another thing we're pushing back on. She initiated the program, of course, in a couple of black districts. And so I just want to bring that in front of you. So there's a number of these justice-related issues as it relates to our folk being incarcerated that we got to deal with.
Greg, yeah, let's talk when we get off the show and talk about how we can make this a continual investigative process so that we can bring about some change.
Craig, can I just say I got a chance to talk with the new state's attorney last year, believe it or not, dealing with a ongoing criminal situation up here. I'm surprised to hear that she went so far as to do something that crazy. They should also look at the fact that this, by her implementing these things and these minority and black communities and not putting them in the white communities, you guys need to realize she's violated people's civil rights. In addition to going
Absolutely.
for them, you guys need to hit them hard, especially in a state where civil rights are still respected and recognized.
Yep.
And that's what's not happening. They are not going, and it has nothing to do with DEI. DEI is not civil rights. Again, and if someone starts saying that to you, stop them and say, no, I'm talking about their constitutional rights. And by her putting this program in the black community, it demonstrates disparate treatment and shows bias, which
Absolutely.
is a form of discrimination and a violation of their rights. I promise you they have. Pull out the Constitution. She probably violated it in 7 areas. They're not that knowledgeable on civil rights. Hit them where you got to make them go study. And again, once they pull it up and find out, and hit them where you can really hurt them, because that's going to be your best recourse. What she did, and giving these police officers do not have degrees. They're not attorneys. They have no
Absolutely.
rights to make that kind of decision. They're incompetent, and that should be a no. What you call it? No confidence vote in their decision capacity to make that kind of decision in their capacity.
But
Moreover,
not
they
only
have
that,
already
you got
shown their bias. They've been in
listen,
court for violating people's rights all the
you
time.
are absolutely right. Not only that, you got the very person making the arrest also making the charge, which means I could easily say I plant a gun on you, say, hey,
They
I
do,
caught you
right.
with a gun and I'm going to charge you. And it's a felony charge.
They do it all the time.
Moreover,
Yeah,
they are not sworn in not
absolutely.
to lie and to uphold the law as it has been written. So
Yeah,
therefore, they cannot make that decision. They are not attorneys. They are police, they are enforcers of the laws once the legislators make them go vote on them and agree to them. They are not in a capacity, they do not serve in a capacity to charge
exactly.
somebody in that sense. They must get approval. Anytime they still have to get approval from the state's attorney's office for any charge. Because if that's the case, the hell, they don't need the state's attorney office to approve any charges then. What the hell are we contacting you
That
for?
that is the point. And I would tell you, um, is this program has been in place. And the other sad thing though is that there wasn't any pushback, right, by the elected officials that we elect to represent us. But yeah, that's something that we're addressing
Because
now.
they're incompetent, and you people have sat by and let these people stay in office, and
Absolutely,
they've been grossly incompetent, and they don't
absolutely,
even know where to start because they've had enough time to learn. They could have went and got educated as long as they've been sitting there doing nothing because they've done nothing. NOTHING. Period. Even the simplest things were fixing the WPAs, and when someone said, "What's a WPA?" I said, "Stop talking to me." Just walk away. So,
yeah,
with that being said, they couldn't possibly defend these people or speak up for them because you can't do the basic components of your job, let alone deal with something like this. And it is our fault as voters, and I say ours only because I live here, I want to be fair, our fault for allowing them to stay in office like that.
absolutely. Which is another aspect of what we've got to do, right? Is be organized and registered and get our folk out to vote because we own what happens to us, right? And
Yep,
so we just got to
Correct.
deal with it.
that's right. Absolutely. We got to get folks out. This election, we better turn out and make sure that the people that are in office now that we know mean us no good, we better make sure we get them out.
Yeah, we're working on developing one of our working committees is community and voter engagement, and they're working on an automatic scorecard
Oh, okay.
ahead of the municipals next year. We're also working on the education committee is working on candidates questionnaire, because we're going to fully elect the school board. So we got some things going on. We do have, Ms. Carter, a working committee we call Law, Justice, and Public Safety, which will be a natural home for us working together on these sorts of things. So definitely let's talk after this and we'll figure out
Yes.
something.
Okay. All right. Because we got to do some. The organizations that are functioning, trying to do something to change the laws, make the laws be laws that are effective for all of us. We got to do something. We got to come together and we got to do something. We got to put the force of the media behind what we're doing, because otherwise they're not going to tell our stories. They
The
don't want
force,
people
you
to
mean the
know.
force of the free media, because the
Yeah, free
traditional
media.
media
Yes.
belongs to
Right.
the
Well, yeah, I'm not talking.
administration now. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
so again, and the other thing, one thing about organizing, it you can not only help with this topic, this situation, you can expand yourselves to the others. It is sad that we lost that somewhere, where again, when we come together for one problem, we don't realize our strength in numbers to address this carries over for the next issue
Yeah,
also.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes. That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
Well, it's time we start doing something to do what we need to do to change this, because this otherwise this is our children. What are they going to be coming up against? The same things we're coming up against, and the same things that we came up against before the other people came up against before us. So it's like it's like a ever evolving circle.
I know. And the thing of it is, it seems like it's only getting worse. Anytime
Yeah.
you look up with this gerrymandering and redistricting and to
It
trying to,
Yes.
is. It
you're right,
is.
trying to keep certain people away from the voting polls.
Well, that's the
You
thing.
know,
Don't let them be intimidated by not going. The things that we forget because people have not been historically involved. That was once upon a time, and I keep sending stuff to you guys again because I remember I'm just that old. That was once upon a time where again, even here in Cook County, city of Chicago, when the machine ran things, I remember that life very well. I remember when again trying to get things open up and get things done and
Yeah.
an accurate representation here in Chicago. And again, it continued to be organized and it continued to, again, getting people registered to vote. They were not denied the opportunity to vote. They just didn't vote. They didn't register for a variety of crazy, dumb reasons. But the more they became educated, the more they got a chance to learn the importance and significance of their vote, they participated. Now the grandchildren of these people and some great grand of these people are saying their vote doesn't count and they don't vote. My granddaughter's boyfriend, who's 24, is registered to vote, but he says he's never voted. I want to hit him in the chest. And I'm asking him. I'm talking to his mom about it. When I first met his mom, which I know, excuse me, probably wasn't the first conversation I had, but I wanted to know why this kid don't vote. And
Yeah.
I asked her, "Do you vote?" She said, "Yes, I vote every election." She says, "I've been talking to him constantly, but like she said, she told him to vote, but she never told him the importance of voting." And once he said that, or how his vote really matters, again, we have to educate him on the services and how the him voting can also influence his future. They don't put that together. I mean, and so Margot, I'm talking another friend of ours. I'm telling her about him, and she says, I just heard the same thing from another parent. And she was saying, again, the kid, well, young adult, was standing there and saying, well, yeah, you never told me why. She says, vote, vote, vote for what? What's the reason? And they genuinely don't understand how their vote influences the future.
Well,
And
that and we, given up civics training and
Yes, took it out of
And
schools. Yep.
yeah, and families are not, we couldn't wait to turn 18 because our parents said when you turn 18,
You
you'll
out.
get your vote. You're right. I think because we've had younger younger folk for, a few generations, we've lost some of that we have to reinstill, and we've got to find different ways
To do
to
it.
come up with messages for the different
Yes.
groups of folk who are not voting. But this has to be a major focus for us. So I agree with
Yes,
all of that.
absolutely. It has to be a major focus. We are going to have to drive our people to the poll. And so we got to start now. We got to start educating them from sixth, seventh, and eighth grade on up because they have to understand the importance of voting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People
correct.
died for that. They died for that.
Correct, because Brother Jordan stated when he was on the last time,
Yep.
even though he didn't want to vote and it was talking something that we all disagreed with. He then informed us after he couldn't respond to. We were helping. We shot down all that other those his other sentiments. He then used as another form of defense the fact that he was working with a bunch of teenagers. He said, right, Wanda, because you were
Yes,
on
he
the
did.
call, and
Yes.
they were working in another program. It's like a gardening program, but it's several teenagers, quite a few of them. And he said they let him know they didn't understand the importance of voting, and they didn't even know what the roles and responsibilities were for the mayor, the
Yeah.
aldermen, any
Yeah. Yeah.
commissioners,
That's why we have
and
to
he
use that.
wasn't able to even educate them on it. And then we're saying, well, did you take the opportunity to explain to him what those roles were and how they influence? And he told us no.
Yeah.
It was like we're like, ah.
Yeah, it's like the blind leading the blind, but it's very important. We have to use our black media to get the word out that we need the message that we need to get out. We have to get it out. And if they're
And you have to
using
get it
they
out, as you know, because your
yes,
media, Miss
yes,
Carter, in various ways, right?
yes,
Someone will read, hard copy newspapers. Others are on TikTok
that's right.
or
I was just
WhatsApp.
about to say that. Yep, you're right. They on TikTok, they on X, they on YouTube, they're on Facebook, and we have to go to all those mediums and put the message out there.
Yeah, yeah.
We got to
And
do that.
and the deliverer of the message, right? For
Yes,
some folk will not listen to us, right?
that's right.
So you
Got
need
it.
those young folk themselves that get it to communicate with other young folks. So
That's right.
we've got to develop some serious strategies around this. I just put out the turnout by ward
Okay.
for the March 17th primary. Overall in Chicago, it was about 26%, about 22% in the suburbs.
Okay.
But if you look at the wards, right? Which wards voted at the highest numbers? White wards, okay? 41st, 19th, 44th. If you look at some of ours, now we had some that did okay. They hit the average or just above, third ward, fourth, sixth. But we had some wards 16th that voted at 17% turnout.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. We got to go to those communities and we got to talk to those people.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
We
yeah.
got,
that's the job of their alderman. 16th ward.
but
I
the
do not
aldermen
live.
ain't doing the
Wait a
job.
minute. I don't live in the 16th ward, but I still am registered in the 16th ward. And I received a notification that Stephanie Coleman put out. I think I still have it on my phone, where she had a meeting this past weekend. She sent it out maybe Wednesday to say that she was going to have a meeting Saturday morning at this it's in the shopping mall there. It's an old building, something I can't remember the name of it. I don't think I received anything from her, period. I know I didn't receive anything this year other than she had a flyer out talking about somebody say they sent me something about a week or two ago, something about those who experienced the flood. There's still time for you to file for some kind of monies or something. That was then, and then I received that one because I was like, what is she talking about? Saying to come to that meeting. And again, nothing's no title, no topic was on it. And I guess she's trying to do maybe again her monthly ward meetings. Now, I was a member. I used to reside in the 14th ward, and then it became the 16th ward, and so therefore her mother was our alderman until she was defeated by Joanne Thompson. And I worked on Joanne's campaign to make sure she was defeated. And then, like I said, Joanne, unfortunately, she didn't do what she needed to do. Then she got a second term, and unfortunately, she died. And then here comes Stephanie. And Stephanie has been in there 2 terms, from what I understand, because I actually went out of state and I was told again, and I know I've known Stephanie since she was a kid. And again, I know her qualities, her talents and things. I know what she couldn't do. And the fact that she has been able to sit there for 2 terms and really do nothing.
I agree with you.
Do nothing but collect a check.
That's sad.
And it's sad because she lives in one of the neediest wards in the city of Chicago.
And she's just sitting there doing nothing.
And she's sitting there doing nothing.
Oh, well, no, wait, let's be real. She will post fashion on Facebook. So,
it has nothing to do with her aldermanic duties.
Absolutely. But no, you're right.
She's not the only one.
She's not by herself, which is why we're going to do these scorecards, because we really have got to demand that they deliver for us, and if they don't, get them out, right?
That's right. That's right.
And that's really what we have to do across the board, right?
Across the board.
Get people engaged and keep them engaged in the process.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And then we have to hold them accountable. We have to bring them on the show.
Well, it's not hard to get people involved, because I tell you, when I had to get people involved with civil rights, even when it came to the federal government, and even in the processes of the special emphasis program management and knowing and doing these other things, once you educate people and include people, and the fact that if you operate with integrity, you can't lie to people. And if you're going to do something, you do it. If you say, I'm going to have a meeting, just like the 4 of us on here, we say the Zoom meetings at 7:00 every Tuesday and Thursday. You only give you one chance to not be there on a Tuesday or a Thursday. If you're not, these young people, if you're not there the second they come to you a Tuesday or Thursday, the second time you're not there, they will cancel you. They are done with you, because that's one of their pet peeves. They've been lied to so much as children and young adults that they kind of expect our generations and those in authority to tell lies. Mm-hmm. And one of the things about it, even though we know some of them other people were lying to them, it's the fact that they showed up and they were present. If they said they were going to do something and they did it, it meant the world. Even if you got there and say they were supposed to have a dinner and the meat didn't arrive, but you got everything else you got there, and the fact that you were there and the music was there and they could come in and they could eat some salad or whatever, they give you credit for it. Now, our generation, they would never let you live it down that you had something and you sort of had a meat, and they got there and there was no meat, because they would go, what kind of planning was this? So when you're dealing with these multiple generations, multi-generation, you have to act at a level where, again, you satisfy each age group. And like you said, too, you got to have some young representatives there also who are promoting the same vision.
Yeah. That's why I'm trying to recruit the young people, trying to recruit young people to recruit other young people.
But you got to make sure the ones that you got, they have the same vision in order to achieve the mission. This is where, if you had any military training, any Girl Scout, Boy Scout training, any basketball, football to bring in the team, this is where you take those skills and you implement them and you use them again. Because even if you, like they say, even with the rookie understands what the vet is doing. Because everybody, even if he didn't understand, he's still giving full participation. And if he ain't doing nothing but repeating what you said, and with the same amount of energy in order to get the same result. It has to be a concerted effort. Everybody, the young, the old, the in-between, has to be on the same page. And this is not competition within. This is the thing that we're competing against is future failure.
Yes.
That's what we're competing. We're not competing against each other. Nobody is trying to seek their 5, 10, 15 minutes fame. We're working together. We're complementing each other. We're an enhancement for each other. And I think if you do that now and you start now, and again, even with the young people, if you explain to them, if he had taken that time and explained to those young people what it meant and what the mayors did in their roles and talked, he would have had them and grabbed their attention right there, in addition to gardening, in addition to the gardening. And see, those are the opportunities that we're missing because, again, we don't have the right people in the right place.
So we got to do that. We got to put the right people in the right place. We got to identify those folks, and we got to meet, and not just meet to meet. I'm so tired of meeting to meeting.
Yeah, I don't do that meeting to meet stuff either. I can't stand it. I didn't do it when I was at work, and I'm definitely not gonna do it for free. So, no,
And so
no.
we gotta get it together, y'all. So let's have this meeting and let's figure out what the strategy is gonna be to bring our young people. See, the young people, they're the ones that are gonna make the changes. You know, we're here to guide them. So let's guide them and get them on the right path so that we can save our people.
And we're here also to listen to them now too. Now, because I can
Absolutely.
tell you, some of these young people, they have some great ideas. They have
Oh yes.
some great way forward. They may not have the experience and the knowledge that we have, but they can contribute with us, even with our interpretation. Like I tell people, good leaders know how to follow. Also,
Absolutely.
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 I did just commit at my past breakfast to do two things. One, I'm forming a youth advisory committee,
Okay.
or I got someone to commit to doing it.
Okay.
Um, and the second is to hold a youth forum,
that would be
Okay.
great.
similar to what you're saying, Ms. Campbell, where they can themselves speak to the issues, right? And I want it to be led by young folk, of course, we're going to be supportive of it. So I'll keep you guys up on that.
Oh,
And I
Yes.
please
just
do. I'd
made
love
that
to
commitment.
attend. I would love to
Yes.
attend, and
Me
anything
too.
I can help you do with it. Let me know
I'd
in
like to
time.
attend too.
Oh
Yes.
no,
Yes.
I appreciate that. I'll
We
get
all want to
information.
attend. Yes.
All right, I'm on it. We made that commitment because, again, as you have articulated, Miss Campbell, we have got to move our next generations, wait, as well as the ones our age who aren't doing what they're doing, but definitely we owe it to our young generations to bring them along, right? Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so let's see if we can do that. And I do appreciate again the invite, Miss Carter.
No problem.
Hey, I like talking to heavy hitters, and you have got a couple on here with you, so I appreciate both of you, and I commit to us working together on particularly around these wrongful convictions, but also as relates to our youth and getting them engaged.
Oh, thank you,
Exactly.
Mr. Wembley. I look
Thank
forward
you.
to working with you. Again, like I said, I don't like to meet just to meet,
I
but
don't either.
and I'm a doer. You know, let's do it. So.
Oh, I'm going to tell you a quick story, okay? And you can tell I'm old because I tell stories. But Cole was founded by 13 of Chicago's historic African American men's clubs: the Frogs, the Snakes, the Boule, Original 40 Club, Chicago Assembly, right? So we started Cole back in 2002. Well, about, oh, I don't know, a decade or more so ago, I said we need to open up our membership because we're all just black men and we're not going to cut it. If we don't include women, it's not going to happen. So we literally changed our bylaws, opened up membership to include women because I'm gonna give you credit, Miss Campbell, Miss Carter. Women make it happen.
Yep, yep. And you know what? And we do it for, again, the same reasons. Like I said, I had to admit I was talking to another friend, a colleague the other day, and I said something even coming out of Civil Rights Night, and he kind of we're good friends, but he kind of angered me for a second, and I let him know the entire time I did civil rights, the entire 26 years that I did civil rights, and also with the 36 years that I actually worked in a capacity where I could influence and help our people, I've always protected Black men. And I let them know because he's talking about my friendships and they, because it's like, how you got all these guys, these things loyal to you? I said, because these were men in power. They were in decision making positions and they were after them. And I actually used the law and everything I could to protect them. I said, and it angers me when I see another Black man turn around and do something low down and dirty to a Black man in power again, because you know what you're going through. You know what it
Yeah.
took for you to get to that level. You
Yeah.
know what it's taking for you to stay at that level. And how dare another brother come in, young, old, or in between, and decide to help the others go after him.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing with protecting, you have that when you see things for what it really is, you can't help but say, I have to protect my own, because the first thing,
Yeah.
like I let them know when I walk in the room, there's never been a question, because someone used to ask me, how did I get my confidence? I told them, but I tell you, I wasn't the one of those really light, bright, got a whole bunch of them in my family, but I was one of those, we was a group of us. All of a sudden, I think it's about 25 of us wind up being the chocolate kids in my generation. And our grandmothers and things were those super light, bright people, and some of the mothers. But I said, when I walk in the room, the first thing you see is that I'm Black. The next thing you see is that I'm a woman. I say, so I never forget who I am. I've never had a problem being who I am. And even though my people may make faults and do some of the things wrong, I love Black people.
I
Now
love busy black people. I agree.
I'm gonna sit there with them white folks at that table, and I'm gonna advise them because that's what I get paid to do. But at the same time, if I hear them and they're talking and they say enough about it, and I go, they're after even my former director, the one of the reasons why he wound up being my director, they actually went after him when I was in another meeting and I was with DOD. And when they got to talking, I said, they're coming after Eddie. And I immediately switched it up, went and told him and let him know they're coming after you. And they were coming after him, two of them, only because of jealousy, not because he wasn't qualified. And then I had to get the chief of staff involved. I said, they're coming after your boy, your friend, because he brought him in because they were ring knockers. And I wasn't gonna let him fall, period. And we stayed friends until he died. And he just died recently, which is a tragedy, because he was young. Uh, we have got to do better and prepare for our Black men. I'm the grandmother. I was the grandmother of five. We lost one to cancer 3 years ago when he was young. He was just a teenager, surprisingly. But I was the grandmother of four Black males, and I only have one granddaughter. My first and only granddaughter was the eldest, but I have four. And I have nieces, nephew, and I have a son that I had to raise in the city of Chicago and keep him out of gangs. I was involved in programs so that I could keep my son safe. And I joined CAPS because I was living on the southwest side of the city of Chicago. And the height of when they were just shooting them down, shooting them in the back, so we made a mistake. Now they wouldn't let me serve on the board so I could, what was it called? Professional standards. Office of Professional Standards. I tried to get on that. Couldn't get on that. So I did the next best thing. Get on there, get the superintendent's attention, get the mayor's attention because you're working on one of his projects, and that was the Chicago alternative policing strategies. And that's how I was able to keep my son safe on the southwest side. They even stopped him twice in my car. And the crazy times when they stopped him, they kept swearing. They said, she doesn't have a son. She only has two daughters. She has twins. And he kept saying, I'm telling you, this is my mother's car. And they're looking, and they got the address, so looking. And then finally, I actually had one of them. They had stopped him. They came to my house because they had stopped him. We were on right off of 59th, and I was on Maplewood, and they had stopped him over on Kedzie. And so the other officer comes by the beat car and goes, hey, Sandra, you have a son? I said, yes. I said, he's 18. They say, well, they got him stopped. They thought he stole your car. I say, he has this address on there. He has this address. I said, yeah, that's my kid. He goes, yeah, that's hers. Never stopped him again after that. Never. And he worked in Bedford Park because he worked at this place called Kidsmart right off of Cicero and 79th, and never had another problem. But positioning myself, being involved, I was on the park advisory. I was worked with Southwest Organizing Project. I worked with Metropolitan Family Service. I did the domestic violence thing. Again, trying to keep my being visible in order to keep my children safe. Because I still had those twins that were growing up. And being involved and working with the aldermen and, knowing how these systems work, while all at the same time being a federal employee doing civil rights. It isn't easy, but it's what you need to do for your kids. Like I told them, I've never lived in tyranny. And I didn't got too old for that stuff. You talking about somebody be out there shooting, fighting, and acting a fool, got my head tied up in a bandana. I'd be right out there. I'm talking about sending it back to what it was. Like, what do you mean what it was? I don't know nothing about that life. I read about that in a book, and my grandparents, great grandparents talked about it. I know nothing about that life, nor is that what we got for I want for my grandchildren. I have a great grand also. But I believe we as a black people, we can do what we need to do for our communities if we just get together and get it together. We are educated enough. We are experienced enough. We have the resource. We have the resources that they don't have. President Obama did a podcast with a couple of young people recently. I think it was like maybe November, October. And one of the things he mentioned to these young black guys, they were talking about, again, sitting at the table and the knowledge that's needed. And he made the comment, he says, these people at this table, he said, take it from me. I've been at the table. They're not as smart as you think they are. As a matter of fact, they're not smart at all. And I think once we let our people, our young people know that and stop them from feeling inferior. Now, I'm not a person where I can feel you can talk down on me, or I've heard people say that, well, she was talking down on me. I tell them I can't relate to that because nobody can talk down on me unless you God or Jesus. And I haven't seen God. I can't afford to look at him. And I haven't seen anybody that's walking this earth that's talking about their Jesus that I believe. Okay. So I'm never going to feel inferior to anyone. We need to have our young people with this kind of mentality that they're dealing with this fascism and this level of white supremacy, that they cannot feel inferior to these people. They cannot be intimidated by this sheer ignorance. These people are ill-equipped. These people are misfits by every definition of the word. So do not let them intimidate you. You are so much more than they could ever be. Even at your weakest stage, you are outshine and you are better than them. I don't think now I taught my kids, grandkids that, but I don't think the others have. And then when my kids go out, my son told me one time when he was 18, 17, he said, Ma, it's not cool to be smart. What? I'm going, this Negro is graduating from Whitney Young, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, my friends tell me, I'm a nerd. It's not cool to be smart. And I'm looking at his dad going, you better talk to this kid because I'm trying to understand where does that come from. And I was totally blindsided. I had no response. And so therefore, I guess that's what's going on now. but Craig, thank you so much. It was great meeting you. Brian, you're my guy. We got to talk again real soon. And
Oh yeah, look forward
Brian,
to
you
it.
already know I'm there. I'm there for you. Like I said, I'm waiting for them to get back with me. But it sounds like Craig is a good connection, and you'll be making those other calls or contacts tomorrow. Wanda, I'm there for you anytime, girlie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
I've enjoyed
all of
it.
you all for attending. And
Thank
we'll be
you.
doing this again. We'll be doing this again.
Look
Good
forward
evening,
to it.
Thank you
everyone.
so much. Good night. I look forward to talking to everybody real soon.